Alright, today we're talking about this Magnatone Twilighter here. It's a beautiful amp and one I've been meaning to do a video about. It's a 22 watt 6v6 amp. It's completely different to other types of amps on the market. Magnatone have their own thing going on, and that's really what I want to get to the crux of today. Is it the right amp for you? Does this very special but unique sound really work for you? So let's start by hearing a few guitars. I've got a Telecaster, an SG and a Strat, no pedals. Let's just get an idea of the flavour here. Okay, so I want to start with a really quick volume test. How loud is this amp in the room? So I've got a decibel meter about 7 feet in front of me. Let's hear how loud it is when you get up to about 3/4 volume. Past that it really just compresses more. And we'll also hear how quiet it goes and whether you can really use this in your house. Right, let's go for it. Okay, just testing the volume. This is about 7 foot in front of the amp. Neck volume on full. Peaked at 104.5 and it was between 99 and 103 normally until I sort of hit it at the end. I want to turn the amp up. That was on 10 o'clock. I'm putting it on 1 o'clock, seeing what the volume knob does on here. Okay, so that peaked at 107.5 and it was around 102, 103 on average. So it's loud, it's bright, and that could be an issue. Just put it up to 3 o'clock. I'm not going to go louder because it just compresses more and more, but this is about probably where it's most usable. Again, similar volume, just on average it was louder, more like 104.5 and peaking at 107.5. But that's a lovely setting because it's got a real round sort of thickness to it. I'm just going to turn, the bass was on 10, I've just put it near 12. So that was, in the neck pickup was mid to late 80s, and when I went over to the bridge pickup, more late 80s to early 90s, but it doesn't sound huge and bassy, so I think you could probably get away with it in quite a few situations in houses and things, and apartments and whatnot. Okay, so let's get a bit stuck into what does this amp feel like to play, and how does it really sound. So the first thing I'd say is, people have said the Magnatones have potentially the nicest clean sound out there, and I can see why you would say that, and although I couldn't agree it's the nicest, definitely up there as a beautiful amp to play clean. And I think the reason is it doesn't have a sterile clean, it doesn't have a neutral pedal platform clean. Right from the onset of volume, there is character, bloom, warmth, there's some thickness, there's some high-end brightness, it's more crunchy. It doesn't sound like a Fender Blackface amp turned low, or it doesn't sound like a pedal platform amp that's destined to have, loads of pedals in front of it. This starts with some compression and already something there. And it gives you that feedback between the feeling of the sound of the amp and the reverb as well. It's quite, it's not squishy, it's quite hard. So it really it has a more crunchy feeling to it, which I really enjoy. Not for everything, but I really enjoy it. It doesn't have that smooth bluesy sound. It's got something else going on there that you might find perfect in a band setting, for example. As a standalone amp to play in the room, it might get a bit tiring on the ears if you play it too loud for too long, but that could be said of any amp. It does have some high-endness that doesn't always roll off. It depends on the guitar you play. I included some slide with that SG, as terrible as the slide playing was, to show you that I didn't actually need a compressor or overdrive pedal or fuzz pedal on with this amp. Now, when I use slide with a bigger, cleaner amp like Two Rock, I always put a compressor pedal with an OD, at least one OD, if not two overdrives after the compressor, to get a really nice feeling for slide. And although I didn't have the amp turned up that high on there, it's like 10 o'clock, there's already enough compression to make you feel quite comfortable playing the slide. There's enough sustain and the notes sort of hang over to each other to give you that. It's not as perfect as a compressor plus two pedals, but I think where we'll end up with this video is that this is a great amp for people who don't love pedals. Now, with the Strat section of those first three clips, I think it's a good time to talk about how this amp is not perfect. It's not like an audiophile level perfect. It's not a Two Rock. It doesn't have a million ways to change the EQ and the sound, and it doesn't go from super clean. That's part of its charm. With that Strat in particular, which the pickups are quite high up, reasonably hot pickups. Those are the Foley sort of SRV, the ones from Peach. There's a real warmth and fuzziness amongst the lower notes, and I really enjoy playing like that. As to how it would sit in a mix though, I'm not 100% sure with you, to be honest. Now, one issue I want to talk about here, there's a lot of low end going on with this amp at the moment. I'm chatting with Magnatone, who are very responsive and easy to talk to about it. First of all, I had a problem where the headroom had disappeared. It turned out to be the V1 preamp tube. So that I've dealt with, but there is a low end rattle that wasn't there at the beginning and a low end woofiness, so they're going to help me figure that out. So if you hear that in this video, it wasn't actually how it was when I first got the amp. And Peach, where I bought the amp, I was surprised anything would go wrong. They've been selling Magnatone for 5 or 6 years, I think, and have had almost zero warranty issues, they've said, ever with a Magnatone. I can believe them. I actually just went through trying to see if any screws were loose. Nothing. This thing is built like a tank. So I think I've got the rare one that might have a small issue with it. It could even be the speaker or the baffle or something is vibrating. So I just wanted to make you aware of that. On the other hand, unlike some amps I've got, the tubes are laid out really nicely for changing tubes. So it was a very quick job. Now, what I thought we'd do is go through a few different guitars and sort of chat about how they feel to play and what the Magnatone's doing. So let's start with a Telecaster. I'm using the bridge pickup position on this Danocaster. It's the brightest guitar I've got in its bridge position. So I wanted you to hear what that sounds like. I think it'd be great for sort of country playing, twangy stuff and, proper traditional telly stuff. This is quite a bright amp. I didn't have the settings extreme. Both of them were below, 12 o'clock. You can dial in a bit more bass and it will fill out those mids and upper mids actually. I've had to be careful, as I said, I've got an issue with some low end rattling, so I can't use the bass too much, but you can take my word that you can dial those mids and upper mids and the top end as you like. It's not as sensitive as something like a 2-rock, but it's certainly very, very usable and feels like you're making very useful adjustments as you use it. But let's hear how bright this is. Now, if you're someone that doesn't like to use a load of pedals, then I think this is a great amp for you. And I thought we'd just use this SG to hear, this edge of breakup sound that you're going to get throughout the range of volume on this amp and be able to dial so nicely with your guitar's volume. It's just perfect, in my opinion, for someone who doesn't want to take a lot of pedals with them. I actually think this amp is better for humbuckers than for single coils, even though I'm enjoying it all round. I think it really excels with humbuckers. Let's hear what that sounds like. See, as you play those notes, it feels like it's blooming like a good overdrive pedal does on a clean amp. It feels slightly compressed but still tight, and it's got a real warmth to it. And it's very bluesy, or depending on what pickups you could, great for country, all of that sort of stuff, and even like psychedelic Hendrix style things, which you can hear with a Strat on here. So I would say you could get away with a fuzz pedal if you're into fuzz, a clean boost, and a low gain overdrive. You've already got amazing reverb and trem in this amp, so you wouldn't need anything else. Great little rig to take around with you. Let's hear a Strat now. So one of the things I love about this Magnatone is how touch sensitive it is, but also how it really shows off each guitar differently. Now, you might get a bit confused by that. Isn't that what an amp does? But I find some amps are more homogeneous and have a more specific style to them. I'll take my Rift Ainsley Lister, for example. It has a sound, and it has this sort of mids that get pushed through quite a lot. And although it's gorgeous, I could probably make a lot of guitars sound similar on that one. And I think it's that amp is made for Ainsley Lister to push through in a band setting, and it's very specifically that. The Magnatone is got a bit more, I don't know, it's more wide open, and it's a hard one to explain. I'll give it one go. It has got a transparency to it. A bright guitar is going to sound bright. A thuddy guitar is going to sound thuddy. If you don't have a really good guitar that you enjoy, you probably won't like this amp. At the same time, it provides its own crunchy Magnatone character to it. There's specific frequencies that you hear that are either you're going to love them or possibly not love them. Although I think most people would like the sound that this amp creates. It's got, I don't know, it's quite a thrilling feeling to play. It's quite inspirational, and it's not like any other amp. It's certainly got its own thing. Let's hear this Les Paul. So far we've heard all quite bright things. This neck pickup in this Les Paul, this is an R9. You know, it's got some warmth to it. Let's hear how the amp copes with that. So it still has those lovely sort of biting elements to it, even when using a really warm neck pickup. It feels like the harmonic edges are there, but they're not too, it's not going to fall apart. There's a tightness to the amp that always comes through, even when you whack it up quite loud. Okay, let's go to the other end of the spectrum with a Strat now, and I'm going to be using a fuzz. This is the SM fuzz, the Scott McKeon fuzz. It's on pretty high, and I'm going to be using a jam ray. So I love to put an overdrive after a fuzz. It gives you that extra roll off, and it just feels great to play, a bit more sustain. And the amp tremolo is also on, which you'll hear dipping in and out. It's a lovely sort of lazy and quite big feeling trem on this. So I thought it worked really well for that whole Stratty fuzz thing. It's got a little bit of sort of this grunginess in the low end, and it holds itself together well. I think it doesn't just fall apart, but it has enough character, almost Hendrix-like, and it's a big sound. It rolls off really nicely on the top end, and you know, for Strat and fuzz and roll off and germanium and all those things, I really enjoy it. I thought we'd just quickly hear one of my other favorite pedals. This is the Mad Professor Supreme. No point doing a whole load of pedals because everyone has different pedals, but you'll get a good flavor for how this amp reacts. And I'm using both sides at the same time. So I'd say about pedals is, you know, this is not a monster pedal amp. It's not got a huge headroom. It compresses quite quickly, although in a really nice, natural feeling way. But if you're a big pedal person, it's probably not the amp for you. But if you already have a pedal platform and you want a stereo situation with a bit more character on one side, that would be great. What I'm going to do next to finish is a quick test of the reverb. You know, how reverby does it get? What does it sound without much reverb? And a quick tremolo test. And then, yeah, final thoughts. Okay, so this is in the FM mode. And we're going to hear the difference between FM and AM. And this is on the AM. This is the reverb off. Reverb up to 3 o'clock. Up to the max. Just below 9 o'clock where I normally keep it. So as you heard, plenty of lush reverb. You've got a pedal which you can turn on and off the reverb and the tremolo, so that's pretty useful. Yeah, gorgeous reverb actually. Maybe almost too much reverb, but you know, you can never have too much reverb. And this trem system, it's really characterful, it's lovely, it feels like something old, you know, it gives that real vintage vibe to it, and I think really useful to have, and it's certainly a part of this amp that's like integral to the whole Magnatone sound. You know, this is their own take on this. So yeah, no, I really enjoy that. Who is this amp for? Is it right for you? So this is not the be-all and end-all amp for everything from clean pedal platform up to various channels and switching and all of that. It's nothing like that. Magnatone have a very specific way of doing their amps. I'd compare them to more people like Supro, Car, you know, characterful, interesting vintage character. But Magnatone, you know, is a real old amp company. There's heritage there. I'm really glad for one that they were brought back around. And this amp is one of those where I won't use it for everything. I won't use it every day, but when I do, I'll have a big smile on my face. It's one of those where I could just walk with a guitar and this amp and a tuning pedal and just feel, yeah, I don't need anything else. And to be honest, sometimes that is all I want. So having this sort of characterful amp around is just glorious. Looking forward to pairing it up with some other amps. I've tried it with my 2-Rock, it sounds amazing. It really, where the 2-Rock can be a bit more pristine and big and full sounding, this gives that real sort of more crunchy character on the side. I'd love to pair it with my old Fender Vibro Luxe and see what happens there. So yeah, more to come on this one. But really, if you're looking for something vintage, interesting, characterful, warm, blooming, but still tight and holds together with gorgeous trem and reverb, this is definitely an amp to look at. And let me know if you have any questions. All right, see you next time.